Now we're ready to add the content to the home page. Now, the first thing we're going to work on is the hero section here. We've already created the header and also the footer. So the next step is to go into the home page and start to build out this hero section. So let's go back over to WordPress and go into web pages. Now we already started to create this page. It's in draft mode at the moment. So let's click on edit with Elementor to open up the page. Now you can't actually see the header and footer on this page. Now the reason for that is we need to just actually change the settings. So we click on this settings cog here, and where it says, here we go, page layout, if we change that to Elementor full width, you can see now the header and footer now appears on the page. Okay. Now if you wanted to edit the header or footer, you can actually click on to this this orange icon here which says edit header, and it will go in to the header template where you can actually edit it. But anything we create on this page will appear in between the header and footer. So we're going to add in a container to house the hero section. So let's click on add, and we're going to choose this one here with 2 columns. The reason why we're going to use 2 columns because we want the text to appear on the left hand side and leaving the right hand side blank. So let's open it up. Great. And let's just start to set the size for this hero section. So we're working with 1200. That's the width. And let's just change the padding. Let's set it all to 0 for now. Now we want the height for this to be around, let's do it as 500. Okay, that's looking good. And then we're going to add in the background image and text and everything within this section. First things first, let's add the background image for this hero section. So let's go to style and click on background type, and where it says image, we're going to choose an image here. Now we need to upload the image that we'd want to place in this hero section. So I'm going to have a look on my files, and I believe it's this one here. So let's open this one up. That looks right. And let's go select and add that in. Great. Now you can see that the image is miles too big for this section. So let's just play about with the size of this image for that goes into the hero section. So let's position this center. Okay, so now it moves into the center, and we want to make sure it doesn't repeat, because there could be an incident where, you know, depending on the size of someone's browser, the image can actually repeat, and we don't want that at all. We just want the image to only appear once within this section. And where it says display size, let's change that to cover. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Now it's nice and centered within this section here. Now let's go ahead and start to add in the text. To add the text, let's open up the widget panel and drop in text editor, and we can go in and add the text that we want. Now you can't actually see the text because it's actually black on a black background. So let's change the color of the font to white, so now we can actually see it. And let's just change the typeface there, which is great. Now we're going to change the spacing because it's really close to the top, but we can do that in a minute. Let's just get all the elements in place first. So now we want to create or add in the header. So the header is going to appear straight underneath the kind of subheader in there. So let's just drag this in. Looking good. And let's just drop in the header. That's it, fine. We'll see it's black on black again. So change the font color, and let's add in font size there. And now we can start to play with the font size. Now we can probably make this a bit bold, so just semi-bold. That's looking okay. And let's play about with the height. That's looking all right. We may want this a little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Okay, it's looking good. Now let's click on to this section here, and you can see that everything is all bunched to the top. Now what you want to do is make sure that everything within this column here is actually centered. So we can actually go click onto the layout within this section here, and if you click on center, it should center everything within this section. Let's click on see what happens. Fantastic. That's good. Now if it's too low, we can always change that, but there is going to be a button that's going to be placed here, so that should actually start to help position everything and make sure that it looks pretty pleasing. We can now add the button that appears in the hero. So let's open up the widget panel, and we can drag in the button, right? And just add the text in there. Let's say get a free quote. Great, and let's start to style this out. So we're going to change the color there, and let's just give it a solid border and just make that like a 2, so that's a solid. And we want to round the edges like we did before, so let's give that a 25. That's looking good, and let's just make sure we change the typeface as everything's all uniformed. Great, and let's give it a 16. And do we make that bold? Yeah, that's looking good. And let's just increase the font a little bit. Let's say 18. Let's just go wild. Just do 20. Okay, that's fine. And let's just add some more space between the text and the edge of the button. Just go back, and where it was padding, let's just drop this down and let's build it back up again. Okay, that's looked a bit too much. Just drop the bottom down 15. Okay, that's looking okay. We can now add a little rollover effect to this button. So we've got the button selected, and go back to editing panel under styles, where you can see we have normal here. That's where we added the color for the button. Now when you hover over it, nothing happens. So let's click on hover, and you can see there's nothing actually set when you hover over it. So all we want to do is change the background or change the button color when you hover over it. So let's add in a color here. So as you hover over it, the button changes color. Now we want to kind of mimic the animation that happens on rollover. So I think that's pulse. So we go back here, we're still on hover, and where it says hover animation, you can do pulse, and you can see that it has an animated effect. So it also changes color and actually pulses back and forth. So now we have the hover effect done. Now we want to have an action. So when someone clicks this button, it actually does something. At the moment, we haven't set it up to do anything. So let's go over to content, and we got to apply the same principle that we applied to this button in the header here. So let's click onto dynamic tags, and we're looking for contact URL. That's fine. And click on that and go over to tell, and we can actually drop in the telephone number. So when someone clicks on to this button, not only does it pulse and creates this nice rollover effect, but when you click it, it will open up the dialing pad on your phone, so you can actually call the company straight away. We can also add the phone icon to this button as well. So let's go into icons and click on the icon library, and just type in phone. You can bring that in here. Now, if you wanted the icon to appear after, at the end of the text, you can just put after, but it looks better before. We can add some breathing room between the text and the button. So if we go over to advanced while we selected the button, and we can add 20 pixels to the margin at the top, and let's give it 20 at the bottom as well. So if we just preview this quickly, you can see that everything's looking spaced out. We may want to reduce this space a little bit. So let's drop this down. Let's do 15. So that looks like, yeah, that looks a bit better. You can now add the additional information banner that goes just below and actually overlaps over the hero section. So let's just create a new column. Yeah. And let's set the size. That's great. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add in a background color so we can actually see what we're doing. It'll make more sense later we go through this part of the tutorial. So let's give it a random kind of pinkish color. Now I want to actually add the content within this section that's going to have a white background, and where we have this pink here, that is actually going to be transparent. So to add this new section here, we're going to bring in a container. I'm going to drop that container in and going to apply white. So make this a bit white. Now we can actually see. Now the reason why I kind of want to have this pink section here, because let's just take away the color. So if I took away the color, you wouldn't actually see the contrast. So let's add this in so we can actually see what it looks like. Now I'm going to round the edges with this. So I'm going to click on this container section here, go to style and give it a radius of 15. So we can see that is actually rounded there, which is looking good. Then we can now add in a icon box. Drag that in here. Great. And let's go and start to style out this icon box. So I'm just going to remove the heading. I don't want a heading for this box. Just want to have this available on holidays, and I will add like a calendar. So these could be any information you want, any type of icons, but I'm just going to use these icons as placeholders here. And also I'm following the design from the page that we're recreating. Just going to insert that, which is great. Let's go ahead and style this icon box. So let's go to style to add some color to this icon. Give it that orange color here. Make the size 60 for this icon. So let's change the font that goes in here. Let's do Montserrat. We've been using this throughout, and give it a size of 16. And just do line spacing of 20. Looks okay. Now we want 2 more of these, so it's going to be 3 in total. So because we've already styled this, we can actually duplicate this so it keeps all the settings and styles that we've applied. Okay, and also we want to stack this so it's horizontal. So we click on to layout and we click on rows horizontal, so we have everything stacked there. Now one thing we need to do is actually position so it's aligned to the left. Okay, great. So you have all of these set up, that's aligned. So what we need to do is actually just change the icons for each of these boxes and actually the text as well. So you can change the middle one here. So let's go and change the text. And let's go and change the icon as well. I think it's a hand icon. I think it's this one here. Great. And let's go and change the last one here. And let's go and change that icon. Great. Now we need to adjust the margin and padding for this container. So let's highlight the container, go over to advanced, and let's just set the margin and padding for this. So we can actually make the margins all 0, X them out, and put the padding to 0. So we let's try 25 for the top, looking okay, 25 for the bottom. Let's do the left and right, 30, that's looking okay. Now we've done that, so we want to change the padding and margin for the main container. Okay, so this is the one that's going to be floating above this hero section. So let's click on that, go to advanced, let's do set the margin 0, and let's do the right, let's give it 20, and the left 20. That's great. Now I'm going to remove the background color. So this is transparent. You can see it here. And then when we go back to the margin, I'm going to add a negative margin to bring this over the hero section so it overlaps. So I'm going to give it a negative 40. So you can see now it actually jumps up and it overlaps over the hero section. Now we can actually add a little drop shadow to this, so it gives it a little bit of a a nicer effect. So let's click onto the container in the middle here and go over to style, and where do we have it? We have border and we have box shadow. So let's click on that. It will just apply a small little default value, so we can preview that. You can see how that looks. Now we can tone this down a little bit. So if we click onto this, you can change the blur so it's a little bit toned down, so it's not that aggressive. Let's see how this looks. So leave it as 5. Okay, that's pretty okay. To add the finishing touches to this hero section, we can create a little animation when the page loads, the text actually moves into position. So let's just click on, let's open it up. Let's click on this header here and we go to advanced. Let me scroll down. We can look on motion effects and it says here entrance animation. So let's have a look to see what we can do. We can actually make that fade in. Let's say fade in from the left. How does that look? That's a bit too wild. Oh, that's zoom in actually. Fade in left. Here we go. Great. And we can apply that to these elements within the hero section. And we can actually do that for the button as well. On entrance left, and we can probably do this for this the banner here, and we may want to apply a difference, so we can say fade up. So if we preview this page, let's see how it looks on page entry. Pretty nice. I'll refresh it again. So the effects you can have when someone enters the page for the first time, it will actually give it a nice smooth entry animation. We can now go back to our Elementor page and update the changes that we just made.